this is Erin Smith and Michelle Bedford coming to you with Local Four Corners Business. Be sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or like our page on Facebook if you want to see more content like this.
In the link below, you'll be able to access my free resource for 3 secrets every woman needs to practice self-acceptance.
We also wanted to give a big thank you to local artist Karen Ellsbury at Studio 116 for letting us use her space today. Studio 116 is located in historic downtown Farmington at 116 West Main Street, and you can visit this beautiful art studio and gallery. They also offer classes and parties for people of all ages, so from kids to adults, and workshops. So come on down and call Karen for your next event. Today we're going to learn about what a health and wellness coach does and how it can benefit our quality of life.
So many people typically know what they should be doing as far as healthy behaviors go, but often struggle to make the changes because, quite frankly, changes are really hard to make. And so what we typically do is beat ourselves up and feel bad and feel like we're failing and that it should be easier. But the fact is that change is really hard for most everybody. And so as a coach, what I do is I come in and I work with people and I come alongside them and help to create more awareness around their situation, because everybody has blind spots and we typically don't know what's getting in our way. And so, you know, we're not just a brain walking around with a body. So if it were that simple, then change would be easier. So we are really complex beings. We have emotions and we have beliefs and we have values that kind of conflict sometimes with each other or even with the changes that we want to make. And so what I do is I take people through the coaching process to help create that awareness so that they can figure out what's getting in their way, what the obstacles are, and also to take that judgment out. Because change is really hard to make when people are feeling judged or they're judging themselves. And this is very different from advice giving. I don't give my clients advice because what works for one person or what works for me doesn't always work for the other person. And so, you know, we're very individualized, and so that's what I do is I treat people as individuals, and it's my job to pull out the inner wisdom and the value systems and the beliefs out of a person so that we can kind of look at what's going to work for them around their change so that they can have more success in their life.
So what's the difference between health and wellness?
Well, so the World Health Organization defines health as more than just physical health. It really entails more things like our mental health, our social well-being, as well as the physical health. So it's not just the absence of disease or infirmity, but it includes a lot more than that. And so I think you guys are going to be putting up a graphic for the audience to kind of get a snapshot of what well-being looks like. So we typically have things that contribute to well-being, such as our work life, our social life, are we having fun? Are we getting in recreation? What do our partnerships look like with, you know, our spouses or our partners? So all of those areas that you see on the graphic are not always going to be in perfect balance, and then we're always going to be trying to get more towards balance, and that's just something that's a lifelong process. But when, you know, we hear the term work-life balance, and so if we're focusing on one of those areas too much, then we can start sensing that our well-being is being compromised. So for example, you know, in today's culture, we're kind of supposed to be on all the time because we have smartphones on, so people can email us and text us and call us at any time of the day, and so that can lead to burnout if we're not plugging into our social life or taking time off for recreation or fun. And so that's kind of, you know, keeping all of those things in mind for contributing to our well-being is really important. And so that's kind of what health is that it looks at all of those areas. And then wellness is really the awareness. We're back to what coaches do, is help to create awareness around what does lead to well-being, what does lead to that more of a healthy, sustainable lifestyle that leads to happiness and vitality. So that's what wellness does, is it kind of helps create that awareness and to help make those changes.
I like that. So the health is focused more on like the well-being, more of like the I want to say physical, mental aspects, and then the wellness is awareness of what that looks like or how you feel and
Absolutely.
things like that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Michelle, can you tell us more about your approach and how you help different types of people?
Yeah, so, the biggest thing that's important to me is, first of all, creating emotional safety and a non-judgmental atmosphere for my clients. That's number one for me, because people often feel very judged and feel a lot of shame if they've, tried and failed many times to make changes in their life. And so that is something that is really important to me as a coach. And I also try to really help people with their stress levels. Emotional stress is something that really can cause a lot of physical ailments for people. And I don't think people really realize how much stress plays a part in our health and wellness. We could be eating the perfect diet, we could be exercising, doing all the things that are good for our physical health, but if we're stressed out all of the time, it basically can wipe it out. And so it's a very important approach that I take with people.
So what are some of the biggest challenges within your work?
Well, so I work with a lot of women, and really just more of the awareness of how mean we can be to ourselves, especially as women. We're marketed to really heavily to look a certain way, be a certain way, and when we don't feel like we're matching that ideal of a female, then we tend to be really harsh on ourselves. And so that's one of the things I do is in my work is I really try to look through the lens of self-acceptance for women to really, be more realistic with where they're at and like who they are.
So what made you decide to become a coach?
Well, so it goes way back for me. I remember the day that I thought, Michelle, you have no clue who you are. And I was laying on my bedroom floor for over 2.5 hours, and I just had no energy. I felt completely drained. I had hit a wall in every way that you can possibly hit a wall, mentally, physically, spiritually. And I just couldn't move. And my husband, thank goodness he was home because our kids were younger at the time, and he was working with them and helping them, but he would come and check on me because he was worried about me, and rightfully so, because this was not my typical behavior, to just lay in a dark room, not moving. And, up to that point, I had spent all of my years, I was in my early 40s by then, and I'd spent all of my years listening to everybody else talk about what I should do, how I should feel, what I should think, everything, and I was never listening to me. And so really that's what happened to me that day, was that I just hit a wall, and I'd come to the end of that, and I thought, I've never listened to me. And so even though my husband really wanted to help me, I realized that I had to help myself, and that I had to face some things that I had not wanted to face because I didn't have the tools to face them. I didn't really know how to deal with my dark emotions or how to even be with myself without just kind of freaking out, really, to be honest. And so it took me from that day to when I started actually changing in my life, 10 years. So it was a little bit, clunky as I was trying to figure it out and walking out from that day. And really that's what I love about the skills of being a coach, is I learned those tools and techniques to actually be with my emotions, be with myself, learn how to accept myself just as I was. And there's a quote that I absolutely love by Carl Rogers, who's the author of, he really started the movement in positive psychology. And he says that the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. And it's really crazy to think about how when we begin to accept ourselves right where we're at and the way that we are, even with our flaws, change actually begins to happen. And that's where transformation really begins. And so that is something that is very exciting to me. And that's what I love about coaching.
So I'm curious, Michelle, what are some of the things that you see within our community and with some of the individuals that you work with? What are some of their struggles?
Well, what I've noticed is that in our society, we're really not taught about emotional health and mental health. We're taught about physical health. We're taught that we should eat right, don't smoke, don't drink excessively, and all of those things are very valid and important to health. But what I have found is that we also need to practice things that keep our emotional well-being intact and keep us healthy emotionally and mentally as well.
So what message would you like to leave with our audiences today?
So the first thing that I believe is that every mom can learn how to look into a mirror and like the woman that she sees looking back at her. The next thing I believe is that It's never too late to develop a healthy relationship with yourself. You know, life is right now. Life is not in the past and it's not in the future. It's right now. And so there's never a better time than to practice having a healthy relationship with yourself. And the last thing that I believe is that change is possible at any stage in life. So whether you're a mom of a young child or your kids are grown or somewhere in between, it really doesn't matter, because, you know, the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, I don't believe in that, because I think it depends on the dog. And speaking as an old dog myself, I've learned many new tricks at my stage in life, and so it is never too late to change.
Thank you for joining us today. Until next time on Local Four Corners Business.